Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo.
Bring him back.
Thank you so much. They say that when the snake is before you, you don't go hire a consultant to tell you what to do. You kill it. He just mentioned among many things the unspeakable crimes allegedly committed, including the hole that he talked about. He forgot to add that it is the most unproductive anti-nation biggest hole in Africa. Closer to almost 90 million as he talked about. And still counting as an audit of course. More. And I remember I was in Parliament when we made a demand for Ofori-Atta to appear before the House and indicate to us, because she had come earlier before the House and indicated that there was not going to be any single penny from the National Treasury. In other words, it was a covenant between Nana Akufo-Addo and his God to build him a cathedral if the good Lord was gracious enough to grant him political power, which he did. But David, let me say that, you see, you have to drive away the hyena before you blame the goat. Let me first and foremost take up the larger issue, right, which poses a veritable threat to our national security and our national economy. And I'm talking of here the action of the United States, of President Donald Trump, going to cease to hijack, to use unlawful means to extract a head of state of another country, to bring him to trial in your own country. Many people see this as nothing short but brigandry. You know, in the run-up to, in the aftermath of the end of the First World War, the League of Nations, which emerged, sought to bring some order to the world and ensure that force is not the main means for the resolution of conflicts. But the League of Nations collapsed under the unprincipled behavior of certain nations in treating international law with such levels of contempt. And so that led to the collapse of the League of Nations. And so after the Second World War, when the United Nations was being founded, the founding members did not mince words about ensuring international legality. That nations' behavior of heads of states and political actors at the level of the nation states must be in conformity with international law, with certain civilized normal behavior that is expected of those things. So they crafted, David, the principle of international laws anchored on the independence, territorial integrity, and sovereignty of nations. There was the inviolability of the territorial integrity of nations. That means you cannot use all those other means to change the boundaries of states that were determined as at that time. And that if there were conflicts, you resort to international law, and especially through the United Nations, to peacefully and amicably resolve conflicts. Today, what is happening is a veritable threat to the collapse of international law and international legality, including, you can add, humanitarian law and so many other laws. Because what simply happens is that any powerful nation can decide, look, I have a problem with another country's head of state who I believe is exporting narcotics or something into my country. So I'm not saying that it will happen, assuming Ghana is stronger than, say, Togo. And President Mama Gessa one day said, look, I think that Togolese foreign national is importing a lot of things into Ghana that we don't like. I will go to Lomé and go and extract him and bring him for trial in Ghana. My brother, what law are we now superintending over at the level of international relations? Chaos. We are so in chaos. And I have even heard, I stand to correction, I heard a report on BBC indicating that President Trump has even said that, oh, what happens to Taiwan is left to the Chinese to decide. you fathom that? That simply means that Taiwan, which China legitimately sees as part of Chinese territory, the Chinese now can go and extract the Taiwanese president and take over the country by his word. Even from what he has done, he doesn't even need to say that. He has handed a carte blanche to China, and China can do it. Not only China, nations which have dispute with one another, and they feel that Thailand and Cambodia, the Thais feel they are stronger. They can go and pick the Cambodian heads of state and bring him to listen to try him for, say, war crimes against Thai soldiers. We are showing total chaos on the international scene. And I dare say that if we don't pull from the brink, because we are on the precipice, if we don't pull from the brink, I can tell you that sooner than later there will be chaos on the international scene. You can see how Western leaders had to bow their heads in shame at the United Nations. They are taking hold of a tiger's tail. They could not hold it and they could not also leave it, because the condemnation there was there clear about what President Trump has done, but they dare not open their mouth because they are scared stiff. They are so petrified into action that they are afraid of the consequences of criticizing President Trump. But that is what we are. So anytime, and you go back to history, there's an isolationist American president, because after the Second World War, when the US assumed the status of a superpower, a lot of international law and other things have been looked upon to the US to give that leadership. And so today, if the US is at the helm of affairs, violating international law, and not just violating, encouraging states to violate international law with impunity like they are doing to Israel. But for the United States, Israel would never have carried out those unspeakable crimes that they are meting out to Palestinians. It's because of the support that President Trump has given to the Zionist regime in Israel.
Yeah.
So you can see the kind of international system that is happening today. So we are living under a very serious threat. And I say that it affects us because the moment you know that Venezuela is one of the biggest producers of oil. In fact, Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the whole world, estimated at over 300 billion metric barrels. Okay? And already, President Trump has already indicated that a number of American oil companies, ConocoPhillips, what do you call Shell, ExxonMobil, all of them, that about 40 to 60% of Venezuelan oil must be given to the American companies, and most of the other of them who have their refineries in the southern part of the United States, Texas, Florida, and all those other places. So he has not hidden any intention that this drive into Venezuela is nothing but to grab their oil and other resources. And so if international law is now anchored on your ability to go and cause mayhem in another country in order to profit from its resources, my brother, I'm saying that we are on our way perhaps to another either a third world war or to the dissolution of the United Nations, which has served, at least even in spite of its weakness, to moderate the behavior of leaders and other state actors. So David, I remain very, very petrified about how the whole international system has been subjugated to the interests and aspirations of just one nation, and perhaps even if you bring it down further, to one leader. Because I am sure that maybe if the Democrats and others were there, even maybe even other Republican presidents, they would not have so acted. I just hear that Congress has passed a resolution. In fact, the Senate specifically has passed a resolution asking that President Trump be reined in. He cannot so moto arrogate to himself powers to go to war like that. So I'm sure that this is for the pundits of the global order to sit up and make sure the whole world must be heard talking about this and taking steps to rescue us from the, like I said, from the precipice. We are at the edge, and when we tip over, God forbid, nobody can fathom the consequences. Right. Now, as for Ofori-Atta, they say a man who has died in the market doesn't need a funeral announcement. This is a man who has caused meted atrocious acts to millions of Ghanaians here. David, through his acts of commission and omission, many Ghanaians have died. In fact, just even if you focus on the domestic debt exchange program, people who had given their lives the better part of 40, 45, 50 years working for this country and gone on pension. Some of them could not access their funds. Some of them who were even sick could not even get access to their funds to go for medicine. A lot of them died through the reckless and atrocious borrowing. Ramsey mentioned it, and the lawyer also mentioned it here, about the reckless borrowing. One of the things that threw our economy off gear was reckless and irresponsible borrowing. Because what? For every dollar that we went to borrow, Ofori-Atta's data bank made money. They ran the books. Number two, his enterprise insurance was this thing that was used to insure loans that were taken. Hitherto under the aegis of the State Insurance Corporation, which was a state, this is for the state enterprise. So this is a man who ran down the economy. Of course, together with Dr. Bawumia, who was touted as the chairman of the economic management team. And David, you can remember his famous statement that, can you remember the NDC economic management team? Today, you may even ask, can you remember the NDC economic management team today? But look at the wonders the finance minister, Atufosin, the Bank of Ghana governor, Siama, and all the other actors are putting their heads together and working miracles. Because the MPP has so run down the economy that their view was that by this time, President Mahama would have been in the wilderness. They will not be able to find their feet. They are shocked about the level of competence and expertise they've lent to the management of the economy today. So this is a man who has gone and done dubious deals, allegedly. Dubious deals. They've got the SML deal. That even revenue assurance enterprises, including NPA and others and GRA, we're already doing. And then you come and duplicate it and you want to take millions of dollars for this. And I've been asking myself, David, does it have to come to where we are today that you should be asking questions whether Ofori-Atta is sick or is not sick, whether he will be deported or not deported? David, if you haven't stolen, do you run in a market? You say you haven't committed a crime. The people of Ghana just say, come and do simple accountability. Simple accountability. If you know that you don't have any case to answer and they take you to court, you'll be confident.
He says, the lawyers argue that if you look at the way the commentary is going on, it looks like he will be persecuted when he comes down. And everybody has the right to have all that fear.
David.
But they've been saying go to court.
David, I'm saying that if everybody else is standing erect and you alone, you squat, and they find something there, who put it there? Do you need any other answer? Like we are all in a bus, then the air is fouled. Nobody has asked anything. Then you alone, you get up and say, please, I'm not the one. How does that measure up? Because it's clear. The responsibility is clear. And those atrocious acts are there for everybody to see. So if you think that you have nothing to hide, come back and answer. And when Ofori-Atta, I remember, was leaving, and the OSP first demanded this for the first time when he was declared a fugitive from justice. They indicated that he was sick and that as soon as he gets better, he himself on his own volition, and a statement had to be given to the OSP promising that he himself will come back because he has nothing to hide. So David, what has happened today? Is he not well today? To the point that he's even trying to extend his stay. And like our legal luminary here put it, because I heard some of his defense lawyers ignorantly stating, oh, that the man has committed no crime and that he has a 5-year visa. You see? But they fail to even acknowledge that if you have a 5-year visa and it's a multiple entry and you are doing it over 6 months, if you go beyond the 6 months for 1 hour, you have violated the basis upon which the visa was issued to you. And by US law and others, the law must be made to take its effect. So for me, this would have been a blessing even to the United States government to deport Ken Ofori-Atta back to Ghana. David, if you can find feathers to pluck from a tortoise, what will you do when you get a fowl? They have the man, if you're already looking for him to find anything, he has got himself.
Yeah.
He has violated U.S. law and the conditions under which the visa was issued to him. So for me, it's a straightforward. People have not even gone this far. The United States has picked even some innocent people and deported them to third countries. And I also want to take this opportunity to call on the NDC government, our government, that this government has cooperated a lot, especially through the work of the very hard-working and competent Foreign Minister, Honorable Okutito Ablakwa, has cooperated with the U.S. government so much that even some people are trying to even raise some question. But he has done so well in cooperating to the fact that Americans feel that Ghana has done a lot for them. So if Ghana has shown this level of cooperation and even gotten Ghanaians extradited to the United States, the recent one, Abu Trika, or what do they call him? Yes, they have taken him to the US. Okay?
Is he still around?
So, Ken Ofori-Atta now is our Abu Trika in the US. He is our US version of Abu Trika. So if Abu Trika can be sent from Ghana to the US Abu Trika can be brought from the US to Ghana. Reciprocity is a cardinal principle of international law,
right,
and it is accepted. And so if we can exhibit this level of cooperation, the Americans must not take our generosity for granted, that with us they can choose and pick and do whatever they like without returning that gesture. And there is a valid basis for doing so. Today the man has allegedly run away with billions of dollars, allegedly billions of dollars of our money that we want him to come and answer for. So the Americans and others must realize that accountability, which they say they so cherish, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. If Americans cherish reciprocity and accountability in their area, why do they think that we don't deserve accountability? And that somebody who allegedly is running away with our billions cannot be asked to come home and account. And so I think that our authorities must sit up and make sure. I know the Attorney General has indicated that he has already filed a decision with the U.S. authorities for the extradition. I believe that one, the extradition treaty is there are norms and basis regulating that behavior, and when you can ask for your citizen who is in full flight from justice, a fugitive from justice, can be brought back to the country to answer those charges. So I think that our authorities must sit up and make sure. Lastly, I want to make a fervent appeal to the MPP. You see, they say who is a man who is flawed in the market by a pregnant woman is an object of derision. Today the MPP are seeing that the brickmanship that they are doing will not pay. Ghanaians are one in unison asking Ken Ofori-Atta to come back and face justice and face accountability. I believe that the overwhelming majority of Ghanaians are in favor of that. And so if you are a responsible opposition and all that you need to do is to try and argue to the effect that Ken Ofori-Atta doesn't need to come back, it means you are complicit in the atrocious acts that he has committed. And I think no party should defend, no matter what, whether it's your member, no party should defend people who have committed or allegedly committed these atrocious acts and sent this country into such levels of unprecedented misery and suffering.
Right.
And so I would urge them to distance themselves from Ken Ofori-Atta and let him face the music as an individual. Let's not forget, like I have been pointed out, I was in Parliament when 90 members of the MPP first called for Ken Ofori-Atta to go, because by then they were already convinced that he had done some unspeakable things as the Minister of Finance. And later on, under the leadership of Honorable Chairman Sabosu, it was the majority caucus at that time that adopted it as the issue of the caucus, and no longer just 90 members of the Parliament. All the 138 members were said to have adopted that as an issue for the caucus, for which their leadership and the chairman Sabosu said that the finance minister must go. Ken must go.
Right.
And so today they must ask, Ken must come. Ken must come and come back to Ghana and answer for the charges that the courts want him for.
All right, so I've heard comments that we should, Ghanaians should, come together and march to the U.S. embassy and demand that, these things are, fast track and have Ofori-Atta back. We'll wait to see how, that. You think it's necessary, right? Others who think that Ghanaians are not angry enough. They think that Ghanaians are not angry at all, put pressure to bear on the United States government, for them to act quickly, and have this issue resolved. All right, so let's turn our attention to, the beef of our discussion. It's got to do with today being Constitution Day. And we want to see the inside, the in and out of the 1992 constitutions and the demand for reforms, which have been, conducted by the Constitution Review Committee. We want to have a better understanding of these issues that, why we are celebrating today itself. If you this particular constitution, other previous institutions, but have been overthrown by various coup d'etats, in Ghana. Ghana moved away from military rule to, constitutional rule, to have a document, so to speak, that becomes the supreme law of the land, and that's why we have the Supreme Court. They are able to, to interrogate and bring meaning to the Constitution. So that law that we all came together as Ghanaians, it's not a law by the president. It's a law that every Ghanaian agreed to, that this is what we need to put together and bring sanity to our path towards democracy. So we gave birth to the 1992 Constitution, but along the line, modernity and the essence to take a little bit of parts of the Constitution to bring it into modern trends, is what everybody is talking about. But first of all, I'll go to, Council. Yes.
Some outstanding business. I'm already late. I'm getting calls.
Right.
So I wanted to plead with you that I just make my brief contribution.
We'll give you the permission to do your submission.
Thank you very much.
Do you think that the Constitution has really lived up to expectation? I'm talking about this current Constitution.
David, first and foremost, let me congratulate all Ghanaians for having crafted the 1992 Constitution. David, 1992 to our present day is 34 years. Right. If my mathematics is not faulty like some others. So 34 years. This is the longest serving constitution in the history of our country. And so by no stretch of logic can anybody undervalue or underwrite this constitution. It has served us and served us very well, and one that has anchored our democracy the longest ever, with its accompanying civil and political and economic social liberties. I will be the last person to sit here and say the constitution has been impeccable and does not need some tinkering here and there. I think it ought to. There are many unsung heroes in this constitution. Remember, this constitution was what even some people boycotted. They said it was written by butchers, cake sellers, palm wine tappers, farmers, masons and carpenters, who were included in the grassroots people of this country. And I've always said it that the grassroots sometimes are even more sensible than those of us who think we are highfalutin intellectuals. This is the longest serving constitution in this country, crafted by so-called lower class people in this country. You can see the intellect and the depth of analysis. So I want to salute all of them, but to salute somebody who led the thing from the very beginning, and that is the late Justice D.F. Annan. Under the aegis of the National Commission for Democracy, NCD. And David, I was then a journalist. I was among a few journalists at the Daily. I was with the Daily Graphic. I represented the Daily Graphic, and we went around all the country across to do the preparatory work for the what do you call it? The eventual crafting of the Constituent Assembly that brought the members in to approve to work on and approve the constituencies. It was Justice Anna's National Commission for Democracy who did that very core work, and we in the media went along all over to give the requisite reportage. So at least when it comes to the issue of the constitution, at least all of us played our bit in ensuring that Ghana got this legacy document. But I just want to look at just two issues, because I think there are so many issues there if we want to look at it. And I will single out one, the issue of members of parliament no longer allowed to serve as ministers. I support that idea, because see the issue of accountability and oversight. We have as member of parliament, every member of parliament is given a committee to serve on. And so there are times when even you and ministers belong to your committee. And if they come with those kinds of reports and others, my brother, is familiarity. It's very difficult, your own colleague, and not just because it's your own colleague, but he's superintending a ministry, and at the same time has a voice in also deciding the issues that are also before the committee. And so you may even, there are some who may even cite conflict of interest, or even say that there can be weak supervisory role that MPs can play over the executive. And so I think that if you were, at least according to the doctrine of separation of powers, checks and balances, split those other things and allow members of parliament to continue to be members of parliament, and ministers continue to function as ministers, I'm sure that that oversight will be very well catered for, so that when the minister is coming before parliament, they are not just longer his colleague members of parliament, but they are going to look at it as a completely different and external organ of government, and the scrutiny can be greater. So I think that that aspect of it, David, I believe is worthy of support. But David, I am against the issue of the extension of the tenure, the terms, from 4 to 5 years. And so we're just consumed by the fact that if a government has done well, then we must extend it. That has already been catered for. If a government does well for 4 years, Ghanaians will renew the mandate of that government. Is that not there? If you do very well and Ghanaians appreciate that you have done a very good job, they will give you another 4 years. They are not just giving you 1 year to make it 5. They are giving you another 4 years. So that has been more than even adequately answered for. So we don't need that 5 years. Look, David, if you have a very bad government, a very wicked government, sometimes 1 year looks like 10 years. So they come to the end of their 4th year and you say, thanks to Allah Almighty, we have an opportunity to kick out the devil. And then he has 1 more year to go. Many people will die. David, 1 year of bad government can kill so many Ghanaians. 1 year of bad governance can destroy, nibble into in existence the lives of Ghanaians. So we should not allow that when we are looking, we say when you are looking at the good, also look at the bad. Let us not just be consumed that 4 years will not be enough for a government and for a term. Let us also look for a government that is so bad, that is so wicked, that is so greedy, that is so anti-people. The people cannot tolerate it more than 1 day after the 4 years. So we should take cognizance of both arguments. And so I will, if we were ever put to a referendum, me sitting here, by the grace of Allah, if I'm part of the people who are going to vote, I will vote against the 5 years. And I want to urge Ghanaians and urge government again, because they may need to issue some executive instrument or white paper to as it were given. I think that government, His Excellency President Mahama, should look at these 5 years again. I think that the 5 years is a non-starter. You should not go. If the government works very well, like I'm saying that by His grace, if our government now carries this into the 2nd year, the good works that it has done, and we go into the 2nd, 3rd year, I bet you by the next 4 years, Ghanaians are going to renew the mandate of the NDC if we continue on this trajectory and carry on with the good work. So they will give you 4 more years. They are not going to give you 1 year. So for me, the 1 year thing is is not good enough for the good people of our country. Right. I want to thank you very much for your gesture and magnanimity, and then to ask for permission granted. But let's say
PENDREAM TV now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.